All right, man. We are here with someone who I consider a legend, Michael Boogaloo Shrimp Chambers from the movie Breakin fame. And man, let me tell you something. My inner 12-year-old and 13-year-old self right now is just giving me high fives right now because, man, growing up as a kid in the San Fernando Valley in LA,
Oh,
man, that
okay.
movie was everything to me and all the kids that I went to school with. We'd
Are
go
you
there,
referring to this?
after
Are you
seeing that
referring to
movie.
this?
Oh, nice. Man,
Right. Yeah,
we'd go saw that
most people
movie.
remember this.
Uh, yeah. We saw that movie. We were at school the next day with all the and all the moves and trying to
Right
do
on.
everything that you were doing in that movie with the
That was in San
broomstick and the
Fernando.
string.
That was in San Fernando.
In the valley, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's where I was raised, yeah, in the valley. You
Right
know,
on.
and we had all of our little crews, our little breakdance crews, and everything like that. So,
Right on.
man, I'm honored. This is such an honor to me. But before I get
Okay.
into this interview,
Yes.
I do want to give you my condolences for the passing of Shabadu,
Yeah.
another legend, and rest in peace. And I offer my condolences. I know that you two will always be tied together forever. You
Yeah.
know.
It's interesting because no matter what, I think people that come up in the game, of Hollywood, Tinseltown, even whatever you do, whatever jobs you do, at the end of the day you remember your childhood, that where you all came from. And so no matter what, it's like I still have a lot of respect for his legacy on what he did for hip-hop as well. Matter of fact, we just filmed a music video for a remake of the There's No Stopping a song. And I was looking at everybody and they were talking about, they were just talking about the stuff that was going on now. And so I told one of the, I told one of the guys that was there, I says, you know what? I think that we all need to just kind of remember what what Adolfo Quinones, former Soul Train member, Adolfo Quinones contributed as far as dance. A lot of
Mhm.
people don't know this, but here's for the record. Adolfo Quinones, Shabadoo, he was one of the original lockers with Rerun, Hey Rods, What's
Yes.
Happening, and Soul Train. But he kept transforming himself. So when the 70s went out, even in the 70s, he went to the clubs and was learning whacking. So that jazz dance that he was doing, he learned that style, which he started mixing styles to get his own signature style. So he actually, was pretty much known for all styles. He never
Mhm.
really got into breakdancing, but he made locking popular, and then he made whacking, which was termed Vogue by Madonna. See, after the movie Breaking, Adolfo Adolfo Quinones Adolfo, he went on to work with Madonna. He's in Madonna's "Who's That Girl" video, and then when he went on tour with her, he was doing the same thing that he was doing in Breaking. And Madonna said, "Shoot, I'm gonna name that Vogue." So if you look at
Mhm.
Vogue, Psycho Vogue, that's the same thing that Shabbat was doing. Most of the
Yeah.
younger people, they don't know that, but I have to
Wow.
give respect to him and his legacy, because he was mixed with Ethiopian and Puerto Rican. So technically, he was the other Latino in the film. For the gente and the respect for the Latinos, Shabadu was Puerto Rican and Ethiopian, but Bruno Falcon, the other guy, Electro Rock,
Yeah.
he was Mexicano, but from Texas. That Tejano boogie. Hey, Freddie Fender, what y'all doing
Mhm.
over there? So I wanted to set the record straight, because there's a lot of young people who don't really know the history of some of the people they're watching. But I think it's important when we show these images had mixed race, just to show the respect of the harmony with the races. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into this interview here. Take me
Sure.
back to when did you first learn how to pop, man?
Well, it was I'm glad that you went right there, because First of all, my brother, I'm the youngest of my of a family of four, and when the dance craze, pop locking and boogalooing became popular underground at the clubs and the schools, my oldest brother was in high school, and I was barely entering junior high. And we all lived in the same room. Me, my oldest brother, my middle brother, and I was the babe. We were all in the same room. And the thing is, my dad wanted us to have the boys to have their room and my sister to have her room, And so when my brother was getting ready back then, some people had those big old afros like the Jackson 5. And then so, some people would have an afro, but you got to tame your stuff. So my brother had a shag. So he would put some oil and tame his afro and make it like a shag, right? And the thing is, as he was getting ready in the mirror, I'm his little brother. Little brothers, they always watch and everything you do, right? So the thing is, I'm watching my brother and I'm like, wow, you know what? It was a scene from Saturday Night Fever when John Travolta's getting ready to do his thing. My brother was getting ready to go to school, but you know what? He was at that age where he wanted the girls' attention, right? And he was probably getting ready to go to a Sadie Hawkins dance. So I'm watching my brother, as I normally do, and he had his 8-track playing. He had some music on. And the thing is, I think he had Cameo, like "Shake Your Pants" or something, or "Fancy Dancer" by Cameo. So I'm like, I'm looking at him, and he starts moving in place. Boom, 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 boom. He's moonwalking in place. I'm like, oh my goodness. Then he's acting like he's playing basketball, like Curtis Bow. They're playing basket. He's acting like he's dribbling while he's moonwalking in place. So then I was like, oh my goodness. I lost my mind because that just changed my life. Because I was looking for something new to clown around with my fellas at school. Every time you get together with your fellas, you chop it up, you clown, right? To pass the time. So I was like, okay, so I go to school, Wilmington Junior High in Wilmington, California. And we got, Guamanians, Filipinos, Samoans, the Polynesian, everybody's there, blacks, Hispanic, everything, right? They're like, you probably know, all right? So it's like, everybody's like, it was like a culture class, right? He goes, no, I'm from Samoa. All right. So we're all there, right? And all of a sudden, this one Samoan guy that I thought was black, because I never seen Samoan people until I went to junior high. I didn't know Samoans can grow afros like blacks. But people were saying that's how we're all connected, Sometimes Jewish people can get afros, Brazilians have afros. So I was like, okay, we're all the same. The Samoan guy came out with a big old Jackson 5 afro, and he started doing like a scarecrow, He was dancing to the bar case, movie book about it. Yeah. Boom, doom, doom. He's like, oh, I was like, oh my goodness. So what is this? So I was like, oh wow. So he starts dancing, and then we go to like lunchtime, and another group of dancers, like back then, if you were a popper, people would call you out. Like, I got some for you. Yeah, what's up?
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah, right. So it was just like, whoa, that Samoan guy that did the scarecrow, he got called out by a Guamanian guy, the Jingawan family. And then the Filipinos from Carson High School, they were like, what's up? You got some? Now it was this battle right there. I'm like, I'm looking at all this stuff, and I'm going, all right. I was very quiet because I didn't know the style yet. But you learn when you shut up. So I was just watching. And then one day, and those were 9th graders. So I was still in the 7th grade. So I was staying in my lane. And so one day, me and my friend, a white guy from Germany, David Selvey, me and him were just practicing from what we seen. And sure enough, I told him, I says, you know what? You're going to get some courage to go in the lunchtime and show off. He goes, heck yeah, shoot, I'm gonna try to get some of these honeys, these girls, because he was a ladies' man. So he wanted to get the girls' attention. So I said, okay, so lunchtime they have you all sitting on the patio, in the schoolyard. I'm like, okay, David was like, watch this, Mike. It was the cleanest backslide I ever seen in my life. It started to rain. It was like in December. It started to rain. We were all sitting down at lunch. That guy, my friend who was white, he went out to the football field, and the grass was wet, and he had those croaker sacks, those little karate shoes they wear.
Yes, I used to have those.
You remember those? He said he started backsliding, and he went. I mean, he was an athlete. He could run. So he went pretty far, and he started backsliding, like from one of the field goals, the soccer field goals, or the football field goals, to the other one. We were like, look at this guy. He looks like he's on air, right? That was when I said, okay, you know what? Everybody's like, all the girls came up to everybody's like, oh my God. So now I started practicing because my brother had the one in place that I seen while he was doing his hair. But
Yeah.
now my friend took it way back, and I was like, okay, now everybody's getting this attention. So I put two and two together. Why not do both? So I started moonwalking in place. Then I started getting bored with that, and then I would backslide to into the same moonwalk. So I started making my combo. Then when people started dancing, I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna pop. So back then it was like, can you hit? Can you hit? People were hitting. Can you hit?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really first people were saying pop lock, which wasn't pop lock. If you think about it, pop and lock, look at West Coast pop lock, Ronnie Hudson song. California knows how to party.
Yeah.
If you listen to the lyrics, he goes, now lock that neck. Pop locking in Broadway every day. Lincoln and Mercedes Benz. He's actually explaining pop locking. He goes, now lock that neck. And now, I mean, he's actually talking about the dance craze, West Coast pop lock, before it became that whole thing that Dr. Dre and Tupac did. West Coast pop lock is a song by Ronnie Hudson, and that I'm explaining it because there's a lot of people that had blogs and that got confused about what's what. West Coast pop lock was a big deal because pop lockers, you could spot them at the football games at halftime. Oh man, he had his white gloves on, he had his golf hat, letters on your jacket, letters on your leg. Sometimes they had the Oriental glasses, or you had the Chinese shoes. The thing is like that's a popper, or that's a group, especially if they all had white gloves and locs. So for us, it was solo or group. We knew that if you went to an event, I don't care, it could be a wedding, anywhere there was music. You could be in an arcade and somebody moved like Transformer. That's a pot locker, right? So the thing is, it was such a big craze that when the Electric Boogaloos, Pop and Pete, Boogaloo Sam, came down from up north, now we had ghetto superstars because they were on Soul Train. Everybody else was dancing for bragging rights at the high school and dancing in clubs where nobody knew, nobody was filming with no cameras back then.
Yeah.
But the Electric Boogaloo's, people would talk about Soul Train. Oh man, you see that group? And they had routines. Boogaloo Sam, Pete, Creepin' Sid, Tick and Day. I mean, they had a polished group, and most people, they'll never say they were taught by the Electric Boogaloos, but they will always say that they learned how to make their show better by the Electric Boogaloos, because they always had nice OG like zoot suits. Like Edward James Olmos from the movie Zoot Suit. Remember how he was? If you look at Edward James Olmos and the Zoot Suits, the Pachucos, if you look at the Electric Boogaloos had those Zoot Suits on, the old man suit and the hats. It goes back to like that old school. So what they did, the Edward James Olmos didn't dance. So the Electric Boogaloos, when they had their old man suits and they started dancing, that looked like, okay, now I got I look like I'm a Broadway star in the streets. I'm a Broadway star in the ghetto club. So I have to give that respect to Electric Boogaloos, because they brought that Hollywood style to popping, and people that saw how they dressed, they were like, you know what? And all of a sudden now poppers were like shiny. People were, you can just throw on no hat and no shirt. People were like bringing their wardrobe and their image up, right? But here we go. Now the terminologies were pop locking and boogalooing. And boogalooing was really big up north, but it was also, in songs, James Brown, do the boogaloo down Broadway. So, even in the Louisiana culture, the African Creole Americans down in Louisiana, it was do the boogaloo with the Zydeco, right? So all this information, these terminologies and the sounds of the music, and then also the dance styles were happening when I grew up. So I was pretty much an intern of my art. I would look at different styles and see what was available. And so what formed me was a lot of kids from up north, they were being bused down to LA. So around the time when I was trying to find more moves other than just the backslide, the moonwalk, and the popping that I would see. The good thing is that Samoan guy, that first Samoan guy in 7th grade that I seen, he was a student of the Blue City Strutters. Jack and Charlie, Danny DeVoe, the Blue City Strutters became the rap group Booyah Tribe later. But
Yeah.
back in the day in Carson, right off of Avalon at Big John's Hall, right there in Carson, it was Jack and Charlie, Danny DeVoe, Paul DeVoe, the DeVoe family, and the two twins, Jack and Charlie, were these Samoan twins. Now they called their style strutting. That's a come Fillmore and San Jose. We're strutters. We strut, Media Circus, all those guys up north, Pier 39, much love to San Francisco, Frisco strutters. It's like that strutting where they move and then they do all those really interesting things. Some of the stuff that the early Jabberwockies did, that was all strutting. That was all up north, and so they brought that down to LA. So now I'm living in Wilmington, but right next door to my city is Long Beach, where Snoop Dogg and everybody else is. So hip hop's happening in Long Beach and hip hop's happening in Carson. Well, the Usos, the Samoan bomb, the Asians in Carson dance totally different than Long Beach. Long Beach had that LA thing because Poppin' P, the Electric Boogaloos, the Mysterious Poppers, the Time Bandits, a lot of the LA, some of the original LA boppers, Deuce, rest in peace, Gizmo, the Time Bandits' father, Deuce, Bopatron, they all came down to Long Beach. And so this is when I found my voice and when I found my name started growing in the community. Uncle Jam's Army was a dance that, of course, spawned Egyptian Lover and some very great people. Yeah. And the thing is, that was at the Long Beach Convention Center. So the thing is, when I got a chance to go there, Uncle Jam's Army was like a music dance, R&B. It wasn't even called hip hop back then. It was like a music funk convention where the people were scratching and they were actually mixing R&B songs back then. But dancers were on the dance floor ready to just battle and pop and meet people. So me and my friends, we went to Uncle Jam's Army, and right there in the hallway, I was like, this is kind of odd. This was not racist, but it was unusual. Back then, it was a little bit segregated. If it was an all-black community, you would see all black people. And if it was all Chicano, you would see all Chicano Latinos. But I was like, I told my friend, I go, this is crazy. Look at that guy. There was one Mexican guy in the middle of all these black guys, and he had a weird smile, like, what's up? He was very arrogant, like, what you looking at? I'm like, I wasn't a gang member, but I was like, who is that? And my friend goes, look at that. I think that's the guy, the legend. Who's a legend? Poppin' Taco. I go, Poppin' Taco?
Oh, wow.
They named him after a restaurant, Poppin' Taco.
Yeah, Poppin' Tacos, yeah.
Yeah. Instead of Poppin' Taco, they just called him Poppin' Taco, right? Because everybody knew Poppin' Taco, right? So the thing is, it was never racist, but it was Poppin' Taco. So the thing is, I was like, I heard this guy's name, but for us, it was like, okay, for the records, not racist, but on Soul Train, it was pretty much all black. So to hear that there was a Mexican guy that was really like a master, I was like, that was something to see. I got to see this. And sure enough, I tell you what, he earned his name because there was hundreds of people there at that convention. And they were all, they had the West Coast Poppers, the Bopatrons, Bop and Andre, all those LA guys, Fremont High School, who everywhere, everybody that was in the city of LA, they came down. And I'll tell you what, when Bruno got into a circle, you could hear silence. You could hear a cricket because nobody had ever seen anybody do a Cobra style based on the snake, the Cobra. His name was King Cobra. So when he walked into the room, he looked at everybody, and sometimes he would go, back then that movie Boulevard Nights was out. And so there's a scene in Boulevard Nights where the guy's getting a tattoo and Chuco goes, one of the characters goes, what is that? And the old man goes, he makes a sound of a snake. So Bruno, I'm sure he's seen that movie. And everybody was really close, and
Mhm.
he would make that sound like shh, and he would go into that chest roll that, and we were like, "What is this?" And he would do his head, and he started going really deep, and we're like, "Whoa!" You seen it in Breaking? It was worse back then because he was had something to prove. So we were all just we were mesmerized by this because no, nobody really had a dance fusion like Bruno at the time.
Yeah.
We got to remember, Bruno was rolling with the Electric Boogaloos. He hung out with Poppin' Pete and Sam and all them, and then he hung out with the Time Bandits, and then he hung out with the Mysterious Poppers. So everybody that was coming through Long Beach, Bruno had all that information. So he made his own style. So when he came out, he said, "Okay, I'm gonna do the Cobra," but we were looking at how hard he was hitting. I mean, most people they were just kind of like popping their arms.
Yeah.
Bruno was like, God, God. I mean, we're like, look at his veins. He was like, he was sticking, bro. So I was like, just shocked, right? But I didn't know he was just as shocked to see me. See, what happened with me, my brother used to play football for Banning High School. So every time my high school played a different team, I was able to go, but I wasn't looking at the players, no disrespect to football. I was looking at who's on the visitor side, who's on the home. I want to see the dancers from that city.
Yeah.
I got good very quickly because before I seen Papa Taco, while I was following the football, I saw other dancers from all over LA. I remember Banning played Fremont High School. When Banning played Fremont, I was at the LA Coliseum, and there was a serious battle. It was the most phenomenal battle, changed my life. I go down in the stands and I see this crowd, and this guy has a gigantic boombox because the boomboxes in LA were pretty serious.
Oh
Look at
yeah. Yeah.
downtown LA Garment District, you could get a knockoff boombox and wake up the whole neighborhood, right? So this guy
Hmm.
had this gigantic boombox, and there were all these people around, and there were these four guys. There was 2-on-2. So I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be." I'd never seen a 2-on-2 battle. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, let me." I got right in the front. I was like, "Oh my god!" It was Bob and Andre, and a guy named I think it was Bob and Andre and his friend. I don't know if it was Ticklot or Twisto, but it was Bob and Andre and another guy with a serious ready for the world Jerry curl, and he was going up against another two team. I'm telling you what, those guys. Oh no, it was Pookie and Mantown. Pookie and Mantown were from Harbor City, California, right there in Harbor City. So
Hmm.
the thing is, Pookie and Mantown, they look like ready for the world. They had Jerry curls like Rick James, and they were going up against LA guys. But I'll tell you what, they didn't have a chance. I'm telling you what, I never forget. They played Burn Rubber on me. Just because you're not on real, why you wanna never ever. I mean, dude, I'm telling you what, that's a long song. That's a long song. I mean,
Yeah.
that song's more than 4 minutes, right? And it starts out, it's like a car.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, when they were hitting, they looked like their bones were coming out of their flesh. Bow, bow. I was like, wow, these guys, they played for keeps. They had the LA Bob style, boo, 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 boo. But everybody was like, I mean, they were hitting hard. It was like because their neighborhood was on the line. So now I'm looking at these guys from Harbor City, and then Bob and Andre just took everybody to another level. He came out in a white painter's outfit. He had, back then when people did painting, a painter's outfit, you would have all white on. So he looked beautiful. He had white shoes, a white painter outfit, and I think he had white gloves on. And he waited for the people to do their thing, and he came out with that Megatron robot. He looked like a transformer or like Talos from Sinbad. He's like, bah, 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 bah. He's doing all this stuff, and he was really animated. That's the first time I ever seen like an animated robot. It wasn't a
Wow.
robot like Slim from or the 70s. No, no, no. This was like an animated robot. And so I was just watching and watching and watching and watching, and it changed my life so much. I felt like I was a student of my art because I could just remember there was only so much I could see at the other football games, but I had never seen a master of bopping at that level, and to be in his presence, I was able to absorb that hard hit
Hmm.
and his dime stop, the bopping. I mean, and
Yeah.
they literally, the LA boppers, they really like Scorpio. They're very jealous of their style, the bopping style. You could see it's like wow, it's very powerful.
Yeah.
And the thing is, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'll say you really picked it up quick because you were just a kid. You were no more than 16 when you were in breaking, and by then we all considered you a master.
Yeah, but
So
even before breaking to get the job, I had to be good. So this is what I'm talking about now. Was way before breaking because I was putting in work on the underground. And the thing,
yeah,
especially Wilmington, if everybody gets a map of LA, Wilmington's like at the bottom of the map. It's like right there by the ocean.
yeah,
That's
by
why
the port, yeah,
everybody I grew up with, they liked the movie The Warriors, not for the violence, but because that little group was from the ocean and they had to go up against everybody in the big old city, in the city. And they're
mm,
like, you know what? They beat them and they came back to their neighborhood. So for me, it was like, wow, you know what? We were just little bitty heads from the city by the bay, the ocean, our bay, the South Bay of LA. And you're right. I grabbed all those styles from all these masters at such a young age,
mm,
and I had to learn on my own based on what I seen. And by the time I came out with my solo, everybody, everybody in dance always said Boogaloo Shrimp is a master of animation. Boogaloo Shrimp had that bop because what I did was I mixed my own styles to make one. I
yeah,
had ticking, I had bopping. When I got with Bruno at Uncle Jam's Army, I was able to practice with him, and he introduced me to his style of boogaloo. Now, look, you got to remember, it was not. I didn't learn from the electric boogaloos, but he used to run with the electric boogaloo. So
yeah,
you're only as good as who you're around. So Bruno's interpretation of what boogalooing was his interpretation because he had already had fusion. If
yeah,
you look at all the electric boogaloos, they don't dance like Bruno. I mean, they do routines, but when Bruno solos, you go, wow, what is this? Because Bruno was always thinking outside the box and he put different styles like me together. If somebody was waving, which that Frisco style, the Groovertrons, we would wave, I mean, when you battle, you got to throw something else out there, right? So
yeah,
Bruno was always thinking outside the box. And so for me, we I look at it like this. We were trying to become masters of our own art. That's why when you were talking about how I got so good so young, I was trying to be the best I could be with the only resources I had. And instead of making enemies from any like other cities, Tim, I would
yeah,
go out and say, hey, you know what, we're homies, we're good. All right, man. I wasn't trying to like, what's up, man? I'm all that. No, no, no. I'd be like, hey, man, you know what? We like the same music. You dance by same dance. Much love to you. What's up? Hey, give me a carnitas burrito, and I'll bust out some pupusas or something. If we break bread, it's all good,
yeah,
right? It's like I'll get the burrito today or whatever. So you know how it is. Respect goes a long way. You eat a man's food. You listen to his music. You show respect to his mom and dad. You don't get checked, right? So I
yeah,
was always I was like an Indian. I come in peace. So I had a lot of people that said, man, that guy, that negrito, he has he's respectful to my mom and
yeah.
my neighborhood. He could come in and do his dancing and
Well, let me just ask you something. The thing that I really loved about popping was that it was our thing on the West Coast. New York had breakdancing
yeah,
and Beach Street, and they were all breakers on the floor. But man, we were on our feet and moving and waving and ticking, and you know what I'm
yeah.
saying. That was ours. That was our contribution, and it actually became popping became a part of breakdancing. It's like they fused.
Well, what's interesting that I'm glad that you brought that up because I'm at the point where I'm being more verbal. A lot of people you say, "What's up, Boogaloo Shrimp?" Whatever. When I seen there were a lot of politics, and when they had MySpace, and people were just talking all their history about popping, and it wasn't true, I just bowed out gracefully because if you lie and it's on record, it's gonna come back to you, and people are
Yeah.
gonna bust you. Hey, it's very true. So the thing is, When I started realizing, wait a minute, I'm not that little kid anymore. I got to be responsible to tell the history the way I know it.
Yeah.
Because usually history goes like this. If somebody says one story and another person says another story, if that's all you got, if they both lying, you're lost. But if more than one person says their version of the same story, the listener could go, wow, you know what? And you could pretty much see the truth. That even in a jury trial, people bring in different people to, you know, plaintiff, and the jury listens and listens, and then they get a decision. Life's the same way. And so I step back, especially with my name, Boogaloo Shrimp. And the thing is, even before breaking, I was like, wait a minute, nobody's really telling it the way it is. And I had no master but God. So I was like, well, let me just shut up. And after all that talk, I started saying, okay, you know what? I got to give respect to the people that didn't get their 15 minutes, to
Yeah.
the Usos, the Samoans that helped not judge me, but helped me grow as an artist. You know, the Booyah tribe, the Blue City Shredders, to Tick and Dave. Tick and Dave was the guy. Tick and Dave and Bop and Andre. Those were the two. So much respect to LA. So Tick and Dave, Bop and Andre, Triplet, Dooney, Mark Benson, King Boogaloo Tut from Long Beach, the Mysterious Poppers, the Time Bandits. All those people, they deserve their names in history. And so I started speaking so that people could know, okay, maybe there was somebody in their town that was on the radar, but didn't get their 15 minutes, you know, because
Sure.
at the end of the day, what we give back, that's why we're here. I mean, God made us all to get along. And so one thing about the dance, it's disrespectful when people take credit and they don't give credit to the other people. I mean, these people got to eat too. Most of these young kids that are paying for these dance classes or these online classes, they got money, but if they don't know who's the original, how are they going to pay you for your knowledge, right? So the thing is that's what I'm correcting. So back to what you said about the popping, this is very important. When Soul Train hit, it hit everywhere. East Coast and New York, everywhere.
Yeah.
New York got a hold of popping, but New York was always original because New York called it, hey man, we do the electric boogie. There's even songs, electric boogie.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you look at Mr. Wiggles, if you look at Flashdance, Normski, Mr. Freeze, even Rocksteady and the New York City Breakers, Mr. Wave, Spider, all those guys, they're doing a form of popping. But when they were asked, what are you doing? No, we do the electric boogie, man. We boogie. We're nice. We glide. If you look back, it's documented that New York, they labeled their style of popping electric boogie. Where LA, we had the Boogaloo and we had pop locking. So New York was like, okay, we're B-boys and we're B-girls. A B-boy and a B-girl, they could pop. I mean, they could electric boogie and do floor, webble, you know, the up rock, the elements, you know, the crazy legs. But if they call it top rocking, if they top rock, then okay, he's gonna electric boogie on you. That's how come you see a lot of old school videos from New York where somebody's on the mic and these kids got white gloves and they got gazelles and the Kangos and they're doing like the robot or the scarecrow.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like LA because they made sure to make their own little signature. It was like their version of boogalooing, but they call it electric boogaloo. What we did in LA, when breakdancing came to LA, we had Sugar Pop De Silva, we had Oz Rock, rest in peace. You know, you had Mr. Freeze. You had like only 3 people who were really masters that brought breakdancing in my generation. I saw the Mr. Freeze from Rocksteady. I seen right after Flashdance, he was coming over here dancing and teaching people. Then you had Sugar Pop, who joined the Electric Boogaloos later, but Sugar Pop came here and he's in that the documentary Breakin and Entering, and he's just straight out B-boy on Venice Beach explaining breakdancing. But he was in Cali. He was in Cali hanging out with the poppers, and so he was changing. Instead of just doing breakdancing, he was changing and started to lock and do popping. So he was doing, Sugar Pop was doing all styles as well. So I'm bringing these things out because you brought up something very interesting, Tim. What was ours in Cali style? We did all styles. We could lock, we could pop, if we could break dance, but one thing that we all did master was popping and locking. And the lockers were here. Eve After Dark, Maverick Flag, Total Experience, Alpine Village. People like, what's up, what's up, what's up? I saw this one police officer. There was this one, and this blew my mind. This is Altadena, California. Yeah. This one police officer, he goes, hey, man. He goes, let me tell you, he goes, back in the day, all that dancing, he goes, me and my friends used to dance. I go, are you serious? He goes, yeah. He goes, we used to do the rerun. I go, oh my God. Now look, this was a police officer who was Latino, and he's doing rerun, and he's right. People forgot about rerun, that show, What's Happening.
Yeah, that's what I grew up on.
Rerun was no weight model. He wasn't no 34-26. He made fat people look good because he was before Heavy D. Girls love rerun. The thing is, people turn this dance into, you got to be glamorous, or, you got to get some abs and you got to look like Genuine, whatever. It is what it is. You move how you want to move, right? I used to hear this. Some of the black girls be like, excuse me, it's not the size of the ocean, it's the motion, okay?
Let's talk about the movie real quick. The broom scene. Please tell me how you came up with that, because, man, I tell you what, that broom scene, man, it just blew all of our minds back when we were kids,
That's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's
Tony France was the jam, man. That's what we used to all get down to,
Okay. So before I get into the movie Breaking, as me and Bruno Falcon, Papa Taco, start practicing in Long Beach, I was just addicted to just knowing I could go into another neighborhood without getting beat down, because I lived in Wilmington. I'm African American, but I go to Long Beach, literally down the street from where Snoop Dogg grew up, and it's just like, there was a lot. There was probably 90% African American, and so the thing is, I was like, okay, Bruno's family took me in and let me practice at his house, right? So I just felt like, wow, you know what? Just like kids back in the day would just go and play arcade games or be surfing, or somewhere, by the beach. I was there dancing with Bruno, and sure enough, one day he got a phone call, and the phone was for a CVS commercial. And Bruno goes, hey, man, he goes, I got this little guy, Boogaloo Shrimp, right here. He goes, do you guys need another person? They go, yeah. I looked at Bruno. I'm like, what? He goes, you want to make some money? I go, is it legal? He goes, yeah. I goes, no. Back then, people were doing a little something, right? But
yeah.
He goes, want to make some money? I go, is it legal? He goes, yeah, we're going to dance. I go, are you serious? He goes, yeah. He goes, tell your mom, we got a job. I go, oh my God. I was like, I got a job and I'm black? Okay. I was like, wow. All right. Mom, I got a job. She's like, what? Yeah, you didn't graduate yet. I got a job. She goes, let's see. She didn't believe us. So he loaded me up in his car. We went to Silmar, California, and we were with the group Chain Reaction. Tom Guzman Sanchez and Paul Sanchez hired us on a CBS commercial. And the thing is, they knew we knew choreography. So the commercial was We Got the Touch. And we did a commercial for Channel 2. It was a wild spot. And sure enough, man, after I did that, I was like, okay, I told Bruno, so where's the money? He goes, they don't just pay like that. He goes, you need your mom's address. I go, I got to ask my mom, who are these people? Because you have to ask questions, right? Who wants your address? Where's my money? So I gave him my little thing, and I told my mom, I go, these people are going to pay me. Sure enough, my mom walks up to the mail. She had this look like, oh my goodness, like I did something wrong. Because usually when your mom looks at you serious, like, okay, you know what? Am I going to get beat down? She goes, Michael, your name's on this envelope. What is this? And it had a CBS decal. I go, Mom, that's what I've been trying to tell you. I got a job. And she goes, I go, well, open it. It was like that scene in Willy Wonka. I got a golden ticket. I'm like, come on, Uncle Joe, come on, yes. She opens it. She goes, good Lord. She got real black. Good Lord. She's like, Michael, you got $800. I go, we's gonna eat better now, Mama. I got real good. Mama, is we gonna eat better now? She goes, well, We're gonna open up your account. I'm telling you what, I got dressed up like alfalfa. I had my hair. It looked like I was gonna go and learn scripture. It was like she goes, we're gonna go to the bank, but I had to get ready, and she combed my hair, and I had to be good. I'm going to Security Pacific Bank, but I felt dignified. I was I was a dignified Negro. I was like, okay. I was Mr. Man, right? So I go to Security Pacific Bank, and she's like, welcome. How can I help y'all? My mom goes, my son's gonna open up his account. I'm like, I am? She goes, yes. I'm gonna open up my. She goes, tell her, okay, mom. I open up my little account. I have my little account, and that's when I knew I had become professional. Because my dad said a pro is somebody that gets paid for what they do. Instead of just
Yeah.
dancing for free, you just got paid. So go with those people and see if you can get more. So the thing is, that's when I knew I had I had started to become a professional dancer.
Yeah.
And so after that CBS commercial, I I started meeting, I met Adolfo, I met all these other people, Anna Sanchez, all these people from the neighborhood, from the club scenes that had a vision to say, hey, we want a career. And so these people were doing music videos or anything that paid, television commercials. And the thing is, I got on that train where instead of dancing in the clubs, I started dancing and making it a career. We never got rich, but the thing is, each job was like piecework. It's like you do a job, you get paid for that. When they release you from a contract, you put it
Yeah.
on your resume and you sling resumes. And so I was auditioning and uh, doing a number of things before the movie Breaking. So here's the deal. We did Lionel Richie's All Night Long video where you
Correct.
see if you look at that video, everybody in Breaking was in there. Taco, me, and Shavadu. I mean, they keep Electro Rock, and we were in that video. And then Shaka Khan's one is the one. If you look at Shaka Khan's I Feel For You, Anna and Shavadu are doing the locking thing, which Anna was Electro Rock. Poppy Taco's doing his thing. He has a solo. I have a solo. Then we're doing routines together. So by those two videos, we were already polished with choreography and moves. So when we all auditioned for our parts with Breaking, the thing that got me that part with Turbo was my interaction with Shabadu Adolfo. It's like we had already been homies and clowning. So they were like, dang, you know what? Instead of reading the script, let's just let them talk the way they do. The chemistry
Yeah.
was Turbo and Ozone. So yeah, by the time we got that audition, that was when we knew that we had something. And once we started filming, I got to remember, I was the youngest.
Yeah.
I was actually the youngest technically that had a lead part, but little Coco came out in one scene in the trash can at the end. So he, technically I was the youngest because I had more responsibility than him. He was kind of like an extra. But as I'm watching all these older people, I'm thinking, what can I do to stand out? So one day I was messing around balancing a broom. You could put a broom upside down and balance it.
Yeah.
I was balancing a broom, but I started floating. And the director and I was just messing around. The directors and everybody were whispering. So they go, hey, young man, let's see that broom. So they got a prop person to drill a hole in the middle of the broom. And they put fishing string and they said, put your hand in here and then do the same thing. They were looking at it from a camera point of view. So I'm just messing around. They go, just go and play with this. All right. So I'm popping, but I'm doing it with, they seen the vision. They're like, wow, man, this is like a Fred Astaire kind of thing. No, I was goofing around, but they made something that I was playing around into an actual theatrical solo. So the thing is, with nice edits, that became a historic theatrical piece. And it was never magic. It was never magic. And for the record, for all the people who said, oh yeah, it was whacked, I saw the string. The string was put in there. No, people have said it, but it's okay. It don't matter. The thing is, there's a reason why they put the string in there. I just talked to the director and he said, you were so incredible, Michael Chambers. And this was such a cheap prop with a fishing string that made a historical piece as a homage and tribute to Fred Astaire's royal wedding and his coat rack dancing. They said, man, this was before CGI and green screen. They said, all we needed to do was just let you do your thing and have different edits. And when we saw the finished product, we were like, wow, we got we have a ghetto version of Fred Astaire. No, and so for me, I really respect all these years. People are still looking at this. Matter of fact, for the record, I have a new store that's official because there's been a lot of bootlegs, and this is the that's the shirt. Let's see that?
Oh, nice.
Okay, you see it?
I gotta get one of those.
Yeah. Go to Boogaloo Shrimp shop, and I'll send you the hashtag for this. But the thing is, they decided this was actually made in Europe. The designer, and when we talked, the reason why I had another life with this before the COVID-19, people forget there was a broom dance challenge. There was like a TikTok thing or broom dance challenge. All like NASA said something when the moon was positioned that the gravity of a broom would go. So all these kids that were all doing the Fortnite and TikTok, they started doing the broom dance challenge. So I was like, wow. So these people
That's
were like,
nice.
dude, we need to no. And so my fans were like, wait a minute. Before the TikTok, Boogaloo Shrimp did the broom. So now a whole new generation were like finding out who I was. And so these people in Europe were like, whoa, this guy, we need to show him respect. Cause I mean, of course, you know, with the COVID and jobs and stuff like that, I mean, they were like, well, let's help him build his brand. And so they made my shirt. And so now I have my official shop, which I'll
Okay.
send you the hashtag so you can help
For
promote
sure.
it. But I just thought it was really cool because that broom has taken more of a life of its own. Matter of fact, somebody at a convention said, look, we've already, because Canon Films, the owner passed away, and so many people kept talking about Breaking 3. This group of people, reaction figures, they blew my mind. They go, we want to do business with you. I'm like, why? They go, because we decided to make Boogaloo Shrimp dolls. Look at that.
Nice.
That's sick, right?
Nice.
Then it even comes with a broom. See them?
Wow.
So look, and then they have
That's
all the
dope, bro.
characters. Look. They had all the characters.
Mm.
So yeah,
Wow.
those are online. So I was doing before the COVID, you know, because I mean with social media and all that, people are like, oh, so what you doing? If you're sitting on the toilet, they'll show your status. I've always been doing. People are like, so what you doing? Well, it's not good right now. I'm in the bathroom. The thing is, people want to know your status, but guess what? I don't roll like that. It's like I shut up and just do what I have to do, like Nike. It's like just do it.
Yeah.
So you know, I've always been working behind the scenes trying to do stuff. Not saying I'm all that, but I mean, come on. If you brought up how long I've been in this game, I was always trying to set my career up to where I could be doing stuff other than just dancing or performing, right? But the
Yeah.
behind the scenes stuff, writing and singing and doing artwork and fashion. I've been doing a lot of stuff. And so when
That's dope.
when this doll came out, there was these conventions. You know, I did just before COVID. I did for the people wanting to know what has he been up to. I was doing conventions. You know, I spoke at USC several times. I was blown away because the professor at USC allowed me to come on that campus and speak, but it wasn't just about hip hop. They brought me because they said, wow, you know what? You know about 80s circa music, fashion, entertainment. They're saying you're like a rocking Rolling Stone encyclopedia. So no, but that's what a professor would want somebody to speak of. So his students were blown away because I connected the dots in my thesis and when I spoke, I connected the dots with the electronic trap music, mash music, all that electronic sound from Planet Rock to Depeche Mode to Yellow Magic Orchestra to Africa Bambaataa. Those kids were like, wow, they didn't even know this, right? So I had like a video kind of presentation, and I showed them even the song that I danced to, Tour de France. That was a German band, Kraftwerk. You
Yeah.
know, and so so the thing is, those teachers at USC were tripping out that I had retained so much back information other than just dancing. You know, I in my speech, they really kept bringing me back because there was so much wealth of history that the new generation of musicians and probably choreographers wanted to hear. And so I was doing all that stuff before COVID. And then I would show up at conventions and do autograph signings with my pictures and sell merchandise. And then when the COVID hit, it was kind of hard. I got jobs canceled and things. And I wanted to bring that out because a lot of people, they don't know the life of an artist. They just think you're just wasting time on chopping it up on Facebook, whatever. But when you're building a brand and you're trying to do stuff, you can't make money unless you have a form. So I was hitting those collectible things, Frankensons, Nostalgia Con, different places, and also too being old school. I have to thank the new school dancers like Popping John, Boogie Frantic, Cyrus Glitch. A lot of those young artists, they were bringing me into to these to judge these contests so that people knew I was still active. So and I even went to the Poppers Picnic. So I had to share that just because I wanted to make sure people knew that I was not trying to be on the outside of my life. I mean, if this is your life, you want to be proactive and you want to do stuff. But not a lot of stuff was documented. So I was just saying that to fill in some gaps of like, well, I wonder what was going on there. You know what I'm saying, Tim?
Yeah.
That's respectful.
Let me ask you this. What was your all-time favorite song to pop to?
Believe it or not, I used to like to get down to Not Just Knee Deep, because if you think about it, not just Knee Deep didn't have a lot of words. It was like pat to I mean, not just Knee Deep. I mean, it was a lot of but and it's a long song, dude. I mean, if you're gonna dance, that's a whole cardio workout. That song is a cardio workout. And then I think it was more. It's funny that you brought that up, because when Samoans hear that song, they go crazy.
Well, I'm just saying, I would have thought it would have been something like Jam On It or something like that, where.
Well, look, if you think about it, Jam On It came later. Jam On It with Don't Nucleus and Clear, Twilight 22, Electric Kingdom. That kind of song came later. When I was starting early, here's a toast to the boogie. My name is the one. Some people that was LA, if movie boogie body, she's like, I'm gonna take my shoes off and kick off I can try to the 512 foot. I mean, that's funk, I mean,
it is.
I mean, bounce, raw skate, boom, 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 boom. So I always felt like I was a funk child, like Bootsy Collins. Yeah, baby Bubba. A funk star, rock star, man. So, because I grew up with funk music, so that funk music was really speaking to people. So when they talk about R&B and soul or funk styles came from funk music. So I understood that terminology because that was before hip hop. Hip hop, the term came from New York, and that's the hip hop elements, the DJ, the graffiti, the scratching on. That's East Coast, but over here, West Coast. You had funk, you had the Gap Band, you had the Barcades, Compunction, all these groups that actually played real serious music, and poppers were dancing to that, Brothers Johnson, hello, my love, strawberry, let the I mean, we were dancing to that. And so that's the core of what made me. I was always a funk kid, but it's interesting that you brought up Jam On It, because with my type of style, the animation, when the music started changing in the 80s, and it started getting that double time, the Electric Kingdom and numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, all Planet Rock, looking for the perfect beat. That was speaking to my style, because my style was animated. I was like, I was doing 30-second notes with my movements. So people would look at me and go, wow, man, he's like a blur, because I had to keep up with the timing. So it kind of helped me to solidify my signature style. Because anybody that ever seen me is like, man, he looks like a toy. He's just like he's sticking, And the thing is, the music helped me step up my game. So I
Yeah.
I kind of adapted to the music as the music changed. I adapted, but in the movie Breaking, people heard the soundtrack, the barcades or whatever, Tour de France, but they missed the art of noise. If you heard ba ba bum bum boom ba
Bum,
ba
bum,
bum
bum,
bum
bum,
boom,
bum, bum, bum. Yep, I remember that.
boom boom, ba ba bum bum boom. I mean, the art of noise. They're from Germany, from the United Kingdom. The thing is, those really big snares and those bass sounds help my bop style. The animation. When I was doing my claymation animation, that helped form me. And so I
Yeah.
have to give I have to give that timeline because I think people that are still into dance, they always have the same thing. So how do you get better? How do you get better? I say change your music. Change your music. Maybe you're dancing to something slow, but change the music. That's how you go from like solid to just smooth, and that liquid. You got to change your
Mhm.
music. It's true.
Okay. Who is your toughest battle?
I gotta say, I have to say this. You ready? I went against a lot of people, but this was a battle that was spoken for years to come. I went to East LA, coming from Wilmington, the South Bay, and I had to dance against a lot of people. I mean, East LA is pretty big. You got San Gabriel Valley, you got Whittier, Pico Rivera, El Monte, La Puente. So lo and behold, this group from Pomona, the Groovertrons, Daryl Stokes. Oh my goodness. I went against some young people. Hecko and Jekyll had a guy named Mondo, Eminem. And we were at this skate depot, or it was a skate land, or there was a skating ring in La Puente. And I was dancing against people my age.
Mm.
And sure enough, the one guy he got really upset with me. He goes, "Oh yeah, you think you're all bad, Boogaloo Shrimp?" He goes, "I got something for you." I go, "What do you got?" He goes, "Watch." Next thing I know, he looked. It was like David and Goliath. Cause look at my name, Boogaloo Shrimp. I was smaller then. I was like, I looked up and there he was. It was like a phantom. It's like this. I mean, this like the Phantom Menace of Star Wars. He was a really tall guy and he didn't have an afro. He had a nice manicured Jerry curl, and he had a bow tie on, and he was really slim. And he just looked at me like what? He looked at me like, Psh. I mean, Daryl Stokes from the Groovertrons, he was like a master of the waving style. They call it throw the ball, right? He didn't really pop, but he had a whole menu of waves. So the thing is, I'm from the neighborhood. So you put somebody on me, do or die, I'm going down with a fight. We're all gonna go, right? So I was ahead. Like, okay, you know what? It is what it is. If I gotta go, we all go. So I said, okay, they go live something like this. What you want to do? So I'm coming at him, and yeah, I was worried because I didn't know I was going up against. I didn't know what I was going up against, but everybody always said I had a lot of heart. If
Mhm.
anything, I was that fool's got a lot of heart. So I was like, okay, let me see what are you gonna do. They put on a song, and I looked, and I was like, okay, you know what? Wow, how do you answer this? Because usually in a battle, for people who don't know, when somebody gets out on the dance floor, you have to challenge his style with something else. So he
Mhm.
came out with a whole nother style. I'm like, wow. It was like he was introducing a new style. How do you answer that? So I had to make a very conscious decision or I would lose. I was watching him, and we were used to waving, maybe just the arm wave or following wave, but we weren't used to throwing waves. I mean, he would throw his wave and jump into it. I was like, what is that? He would kick his leg and kick a wave. Whoa, you know, it was just wave. He was just Mr. Wave, not from New York, but if I was to call Daryl Stokes anything, he was a master of waves, right? So I'm watching him, and the first thing I thought of, what is he not doing? That's what saved me because he couldn't hit. He didn't do anything else, but he was waving. If you look at his style, he's all over the place. I mean, he's like liquid, dude. So I was like,
Mhm.
okay. So I learned to adapt my waves, but I was doing what he didn't do. I started ticking, I was vibrating, I went to the ground, I started gliding, I'm floating, everything. And you know what? That's how people said I won, but because it was such a hard battle, we just kept going. We wouldn't give up. I always said that we tied, but he said, I mean, some other people said, no, you beat him. But I always said we tied because how can you beat something that you're not familiar with? So the
Yeah.
thing is, to this day, we're good friends because he knows I gave him a run for his money, and I was a lot younger than him, but he
Mhm.
answered and gave me a run for his money. But I had honorable respect for his style. And matter of fact, people in the dance game, they know exactly what I'm talking about. When the
Mhm.
Groovertrons from Pomona, California came on the map, they changed the game because when they started hitting and throwing their waves, LA people were like, "What is that?" And they didn't boogaloo, but they could hit, and they did this thing where they were throwing the waves. I mean, all through their body, and it was beautiful how they
Wow.
laid everything out. And to this day, they're still around, and you could see videos, and you could see what I'm talking about. But that was my hardest battle, just because I think the hardest of anything is not knowing,
Yeah.
how do you answer something you're not familiar with, right? And we didn't have a rematch because we had respect the first round. It's like
Sure.
I'm a little guy coming from Wilmington. Pomona's a long way from Wilmington, and those guys were very serious LA people. But
Yeah.
guess what? It stepped my name up because now I wasn't a little poo butt with a little punk attitude.
Yeah.
Now I had respect from OGs in the neighborhood, and now I have friends. So once again, I added another arsenal to my style, Tim. You
Yeah.
know?
Now,
Yeah.
as we end this, I just want to list some of your accomplishments that you've done after the movie Breaking. You were the robot in Bill and Ted.
Yes.
You were the
Most of
robot,
the
Steve Urkel's robot.
yeah, I really
And
are.
what it is you taught Michael Jackson the moonwalk.
Sure. You know what? I taught him a moonwalk combo. He had already learned the moonwalk. I mean, well, actually, it's the backslide, but the
Yeah.
media when he was on
Yeah.
Motown 25, when this guy, hold on a second. Usually I have an answer. Here he goes. Michael, he's like, what? They're talking about. He's like, no, no, no. He's like, no, it's him. He's like, is it me? Yes, it's him, right? So when I came into this guy's life, right? The thing is, I did a CBS commercial and I introduced my backslide moonwalk combo. I went backwards. Remember in the beginning of this, I told you I saw my brother
Yeah.
gliding in place. Then later, my friend from Germany went to school. He did the backslide across
Yeah.
the schoolyard. I put those two together and made a combo. And the thing is, when Michael seen my version of that, next thing I know, I was at his house with Bruno, and it was like a makeshift audition. So he was able to see me and see my combo and work with me, before the victory tour. So when I worked with him with the victory tour, just to that one session, he was able to get that my gliding in place. He already knew how to go backwards. He did that on Motown, but right after that, I got with him and I showed him how to go in place, but then
Mhm.
also the circular
Yeah.
float. So you know where that's going. When this guy when this guy got a hold, I mean, if you look at this time, this was the victory tour, you know, the victory tour. This is
Yeah.
actually the tour thing for the victory tour. Um,
Wow.
yeah, it's very true. That was at Dodger Stadium, you know.
Yeah, I was there
Tito,
at that concert.
Tito and Marlon, Jackie, and Marlon, Randy. So the thing is, just before that tour, we had a session. And that's important to connect those dots because he had already did Motown 25. But when I got finished with him, it was a whole nother thing because when you look at Billie Jean, the live performance of the Victory Tour, that's when he introduced what I taught him. He already did the thing on Motown with Billie
Yeah.
Jean, but on the live version, he did the same thing as Motown. And then they had an instrumental slowdown solo. Boom, 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 boom. And he goes across the stage and he has his hat or whatever. Then he starts going around in a circle. They're like, what? Whoa. And then he throws that Billie Jean. Whoa. They're like, ah. Right then and there, I think that's when Michael knew I had something. Anytime you add to something that's already great, you are a team player. Because when he did the Motown 25, that was greatness. But we added something even greater, and Michael's always trying to top himself. So now he added that circular thing to his Motown thing, and it went to orbit.
Yeah.
But he wasn't finished because he was not popping. He was not popping or ticking yet. So the thing is, he got really, really smart. By the time 1987 came along, that's when I knew, wow, he was turning into a freestyle popper because I was working on the Dom DeLuise show. And so the Motown and the Victory Tour had already passed. So we went from 1983, 84 to 87. By 1987, when who's bad, Michael had the leather on and he had the clackers like Electric Boogaloo, and his snap was like in orbit. When he bad, he was like bang. When he was popping his chest, if you look at the video, bad, he was actually bopping. If you look at the bopper, Scorpio, bow. Look at Bruno's heartbeat, boom. Michael knew how to do that, but he didn't want to look like a popper. Michael found a way to just go, bah. He would snap, and you're like, whoa, where's that coming from? I mean, it was very powerful, huh? Bow, bow, and he would do his stuff, but he would hit, boom, boom. And the thing is, that his snaps and his arm, it was very powerful. By the time history came, that's when I knew this guy, Mr. Michael Joseph Jackson. It's him. He's like, where's the camera angle? That's when he's like moonwalking. He's like, excuse me, I gotta go. But look, here's the deal. That's when I knew he became a master of his own style. Yeah. He never really wanted to look like anybody. He had a little bit of Fred Astaire, a little bit of Bob Fosse, a little bit of this. But one thing about my popping style, he internalized where the power's coming from. He knew where to snap without looking like somebody that was dancing on Santa Monica or Venice Beach. You know, they have street performers or Pier 39. You know, a lot of people, when people pop today, you can go, okay, you know what? You're doing Popping Pete, or you're doing Popping John, or you could see the teacher or the influence. When you saw Michael Jackson dance, you didn't know who did he learn from until he told you. So I like what he did, because some people have said, man, do you know what? Weren't you ticked off? How come you never got credit? I go, you know what? I think after a while, when people start brainwashing you and telling you things, it could get into your mind. But believe it or not, because we all have faith in God, you know, and we were all learning from the Bible. I was like, you know what? You don't covet what another man has. I was just happy that I was able to work with him, and happy that the dance style that we did back then carried on to today, because he was such a great performer that there were so many people that remember popping because of him. I mean, even after these movies went off the air, or when Blockbuster Video closed and nobody was watching Breaking or on the cable TV, every time people saw Michael Jackson, they seen popping or they seen ticking, you know. And so on that merit, I'm so glad that I was a part of his life to help debut the style and keep the art form. Let's go back to Jazz and Tap. Jazz and Tap had Fred Astaire, Sammy Davis Jr., you know, Bill Robinson, Gene Kelly, all these great people with those styles. Popping, really the most famous popper was Michael Jackson. I mean, Michael Jackson made Moonwalker and he made popping. When they see him dance, they go, wow, you know what? He was actually the most famous popper. And so he was like the matrix, the door for the style to get the highest respect. And so for me, I'm very glad that, as you brought up my career, and thank you for highlighting that. Urkel Bob, Bill and Ted's and all that. The Steve Urkel, if you think about what you said in Breaking, when I did the broom, that was entering special effects with just a cheap prop. But then when I did the Steve Urkel robot, I told my agent, Julie McDonald at the time, I want to go into special effects. You got to remember, Star Wars, The Bionic Man, you know, science fiction was really popular. So I was going to be very happy being in character if that's what God was going to give me with my art. If that's where I was going to end up being somewhere as a Star Wars character or a CGI cool character, you know, and have my own doll, I would have been fine. And so when I did the Steve Urkel robot, you didn't see my face. I was a Steve Urkel it was a Steve Urkel likeness. When I did Bill and Ted's, I was Alex Winter, Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter. Bruno played Keanu Reeves, but I play Alex. Wow. So for me, I hired Bruno for that job. We both needed the money. So for me, I was like, you know what? I a lot of people don't know this, but I was always trying to advance my art. We went from just dancing with a boombox and on cardboard or on the street to actually, on stage and then some, and so that the same thing that Michael Jackson opened up the doors for popping, I was
Yeah,
really trying to open up doors for dancers to get jobs as characters.
yeah,
Instead of telling their agent, said, "Look, I want to play a character in a movie." And who would have thought Star Wars is still happening? Meaning, Star Wars: The Awakening, Kylo Ren, all these really cool characters and science fiction films and cartoons, animation is is very much part of our culture. Even the
yeah.
video games, Fortnite and all that and stuff. And so, I'm hoping that somewhere along the line, people that used to pop, maybe they could get jobs.
Okay,
Maybe they could get jobs doing what they do.
okay. One last question here. We're all older now, I mean, I'm not gonna throw my age out there, but you're older now. How much do you still practice, man? Do you still, get down in front of the mirrors and and,
Well, you
and,
know what?
and try to make up new moves?
Because I created my own style. If I hear a certain beat, or if I hear, I mean, I write songs. I'm a singer now, and I'm an educator. So if I hear something, of course I jam and I dance to it. But most of the time, if I get with the group of dancers or people that do what I do,
Hmm.
they help me step up my game. It's almost like if you used to box, if you get with boxers, you're gonna step up your game. So being a dancer, I'm sorry, being a dancer, when I'm around dancers, it steps up my game. But I have my normal workouts and I try to keep I try to keep in shape. But yeah, that's usually what it is when I'm around my brethren or I'm doing a project that has music or dance. That's when I can go back into that. But yeah, I look at it like this. I'm not trying to compete with kids on YouTube, but it's all dance is always going to be a part of me. What I do now is I help consult projects and I help put all that knowledge into like music videos, which I'm going to have a debut music video coming out to my new song. We just did a music video to There's No Stopping Us. Can you see this?
Yes,
Can you see that?
yes.
So there's a new remake of There's No Stopping Us. So stay tuned for that and I'll send you all the hashtags.
Okay, awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time.
All right.
Like
Well,
I said,
you
this has
you, you
been
have a safe afternoon. Much respect to West Coast Styles and all the people.
yes, sir. And
All right.
man,
Much love, brother.
this has been an honor for me. And man, I just really appreciate you taking the
Thank you,
time.
Mr. Sanchez.
And we're gonna go ahead and conclude, and I'll let you go ahead and get about your business. But man, I'd love to just continue working with you. All right, peace. Have a good day.